The Apollo missions unfolded at a moment when spaceflight was still experimental and fragile. Every system had to work near the edge of what technology allowed. Communication was not an accessory to the mission. It was the thread that held every other system together, connecting astronauts to engineers, doctors, navigators, and decision-makers on Earth. Long before the first launch, engineers understood that distance would be one of Apollo's greatest challenges. Signals would take more than a second to travel each way between Earth and the Moon. This delay ruled out real-time control from the ground. Instead, communication had to support autonomy, clarity, and trust between crews and mission control. The structure of Apollo communication reflected this philosophy. Astronauts were trained to diagnose problems independently while remaining in constant dialogue with Earth. Communication was not about commands alone, but about shared understanding. Every transmission carried both information and reassurance. The ground-based tracking network was vast and deliberate. Stations were placed to ensure that at least one antenna could see the spacecraft at almost all times when it was not behind the Moon. These locations were chosen not only for geographic coverage, but for radio quietness, minimizing interference from human activity. Each tracking station functioned as part of a synchronized system. Data flowed not just between spacecraft and station, but between stations themselves. Mission Control in Houston served as the central hub, integrating information from across the globe into a coherent picture of the mission. Signal strength diminished rapidly with distance. By the time Apollo transmissions reached Earth, they were extraordinarily weak. Detecting them required amplifiers capable of isolating meaningful information from background noise generated by the universe itself. This challenge pushed radio engineering to new levels of precision. Errors were inevitable, but their consequences were anticipated. Engineers assumed that antennas would drift slightly, signals would fade, and equipment would occasionally fail. Redundancy was built into every layer. Backup frequencies, spare components, and alternative procedures ensured continuity. During critical moments, such as lunar descent and ascent, communication took on heightened importance. Engineers monitored telemetry continuously, watching streams of numbers scroll across screens. These numbers told a story about engine performance, fuel flow, and guidance accuracy. Spoken words alone were not enough. The temporary loss of communication when spacecraft passed behind the Moon was not a flaw. It was a known and accepted limitation. Mission plans accounted for these blackouts, scheduling activities so that no immediate ground intervention would be required during those periods. This absence of constant contact sometimes unsettles modern audiences accustomed to uninterrupted connectivity. Yet for Apollo, silence was simply another condition to manage. It reinforced the reality that astronauts were truly beyond immediate reach. Claims that Apollo required undisclosed relay satellites often emerge from misunderstanding how communication geometry works. Line-of-sight transmission was sufficient for near-side operations. No additional infrastructure was necessary to explain recorded conversations, telemetry, or video. The video signal from the Moon was particularly fragile. It was slow-skin television, designed to operate within the limited bandwidth available. Converting this signal into standard broadcast formats required specialized equipment and introduced variability in image quality. These conversions were not secret processes. They were documented, witnessed, and repeated independently by multiple ground stations. Differences in recordings from different locations reflect technical constraints, not concealment. Navigation and communication were inseparable. Radio signals were used not only to transmit data, but to measure distance and speed. Small changes in frequency revealed how fast the spacecraft was moving relative to Earth. Time delays revealed position. This reliance on radio physics made Apollo observable beyond NASA. Independent researchers and amateur radio operators detected signals from Apollo spacecraft. Observatories tracked trajectories. These external observations provided additional confirmation of mission activities. Satellite relays did exist in Earth orbit during Apollo, but they were not part of lunar communication. Their coverage was limited, and their capabilities did not align with mission requirements. Ground-based systems were more reliable for deep space communication at the time. The simplicity of Apollo's communication architecture was a strength. Fewer components meant fewer points of failure. What complexity existed was distributed across human expertise rather than hidden technology. As Apollo missions progressed, communication procedures were refined. Lessons learned from early flights improved clarity, efficiency, and crew workload. These refinements reflect an evolving system responding to experience rather than relying on fixed, concealed methods. The cultural memory of Apollo often compresses years of planning into a single moment of triumph. In reality, every word spoken from the moon rested on decades of radio science, wartime radar development, and post-war telecommunications research. The trust between astronauts and mission control was built through communication discipline. Crews spoke calmly, concisely, and precisely. Controllers responded in measured tones. This shared language reduced confusion and preserved focus during moments of high stress. Apollo's communication network also reflected international cooperation. Stations outside the United States were essential, not optional. The moon landings were supported by a global infrastructure that transcended national boundaries, even amid geopolitical rivalry. When later missions began using relay satellites, it was not because Apollo had failed, but because technology had advanced. Lunar orbiters made continuous coverage possible, reducing communication gaps and supporting more complex surface operations. Understanding the truth about Apollo missions requires resisting the temptation to project modern systems backward. The absence of satellite relays is not evidence of impossibility. It is evidence of a different solution to the same fundamental problem. Apollo succeeded because its engineers understood constraints and designed around them. They did not eliminate distance. They respected it. Communication was shaped to fit reality rather than attempting to override it. Every successful transmission affirmed that physics behaved as expected. Radio waves traveled at known speeds. Signals weakened predictably. Noise behaved statistically. Nothing about Apollo required exceptions to these rules. The durability of Apollo's legacy lies in its openness. Technical papers, recordings, diagrams, and testimonies remain available. The system was large, distributed, and observed by thousands. It could not have depended on hidden mechanisms without leaving inconsistencies. The truth about Apollo missions and satellite relays is not mysterious. It is technical, methodical, and grounded in engineering. It reveals what careful planning can achieve even with limited tools. In acknowledging this, the Apollo missions become more human, not less. They reflect a time when success depended on understanding rather than automation, on coordination rather than concealment. The voices heard from the moon traveled openly through space, captured by antennas across Earth. They did not need secret pathways. They followed the same physical laws that govern every signal sent since. Apollo's communication system did not hide the truth. It demonstrated it.